everyone. This is Jeny Heckman here, and today on Jeny's Tattletales, I always do this. Hello, everyone. This is Jeny Heckman, and today on Jeny's Tattletales, Andrea and I both have the wonderful Dan Rice, and he writes YA urban fantasy. So we do a lot of fantasy on our Tattletales, but we don't do a ton of YA, and I love YA, love it. So I'm excited to talk with him. And he writes under the series name of the Allison Lee Chronicles. And today we're going to be talking about the book Dragons Walk Among Us. It's kind of Game of Thrones-ish, it sounds like, but I'm going to ask him about that. So welcome, Dan. And how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, really good. Okay, so you got to tell us a little bit about this book, Dragons Walk Among Us.
Yeah, so here's the print copy of it. But so it's about the main character is Allison Lee. So and it's first person YA. So it's it's her story. So she's a biracial girl growing up in Seattle. So I'm from the Pacific Northwest.
Nice.
And anyway, sort of the inciting incident is she gets ridiculed by one of her peers there at a school type event, and so from that we kind of get some insight into her, and we get sort of a little bit of backstory about her mother, who hasn't been involved in her life at all. She's never met her mother, and sort of the story unfolds. Where she ends up being attacked by someone on a university campus up there. I call it Tahoma University. And after that, she ends up blind. She gets hit on the head and wakes up blind, in the hospital. So she's an avid photographer, like I am. So she's quite devastated, like her dreams to be a photojournalist or whatever. And she gets offered to undergo experimental procedure to have her eyes removed and get like prosthetic eyes.
Oh.
So then that ends up working out. And then that sort of opens up the whole new world to her that she didn't know existed. And then that's where the dragons and other aspects of the story comes in, and she kind of learns about her mother and her own how should I put it, her own supernatural background.
Oh.
So she's not a dragon, but she is another kind of supernatural entity. And then it kind of goes through meeting the dragons, being imprisoned by them, and then kind of figuring out that, well, they're not evil per se, they're just different entities with their own agendas that aren't necessarily correspond with a high school girl.
Yeah. And when is this? Is this like set? Is it supposed to be set back in time and forward in time?
Contemporary. But I don't have any of I kind of leave out all the stuff that going on in quote unquote real life right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd say it's contemporary. They're modern day Seattle.
Okay. Okay.
They visit other areas around Mount Rainier.
Okay, and I guess I have to ask, are the dragons visible then, or are they? Do we live amongst dragons in this time, or is it?
So they're not visible. So that's where the prosthetics come in. She's through that, and then her supernatural heritage, that then she can see them. And there's
I see.
But they're like living. They're like hiding out on Earth essentially, and there's a handful of them, and they they live regular lives. They have like golems, that kind of walk around, and then they and then the dragon sort of invisibly sort of is attached to this golem thing. It moves around and
Oh, cool.
holds down a quote unquote ordinary life as whatever, and then she can see him, and then they figure out that she can see him, and then that sort of
Great imagination. I love that. What? So what is the hardest or most unusual or interesting part of story for the research of this story? What did you have the most fun kind of, or interesting or hard? What was that for you in terms of the research?
So the research.
Or did you do research? Was it just?
I did some research to try to, I guess, fact check things, like to make sure I like when I was like describing sort of different parts of Seattle, I kind of do a little bit of fact checking and kind of look, okay.
Yeah.
Do the street names seem reasonable? I mean, if I'm like, I might still make up some street names, but if I'm saying it's in this general area, if there's a main drag through there, I mean, and then I want them to be in a warehouse, well, then is this area kind of like,
yeah.
You kind of hear that scene really as industrial would be expected. So stuff like that, I researched it. But yeah, I don't know that I did a ton. I did do research to like, looking around at different locations that I ended up, composite of real and just imaginary, but just to make sure that it kind of looked, what I was describing seemed, reasonable.
You were in the industrial area versus downtown Seattle or something. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so you are a very visual guy. You also love doing photography, and that's something that actually we share. I love doing photography as well. When it comes to things that are graphic, like the covers and things like that, do you have a couple of favorite covers of all time that are not your own, but do you have like a couple of covers that you just went, oh wow, that's really cool?
Well, like the cover of all time. Well, probably when I'm thinking about, there was recently a cover for, I think it's Serafina by Rachel Hartman. One of her new covers was kind of cool. It was like a sort of a, I think it was like a, sort of a silhouette of a girl's head, and then the background was maybe sort of a Victorian city, and then I think don't remember if there was somehow there was a dragon element in it. Now I don't remember exactly where it was in that one, but I remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh, that was really cool.
That's very cool.
Do you use any of your photographs in any of the covers for your books?
No, I mean, this is just whatever the Wild Rose came up with.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the cover information sheet or whatever that.
Yeah. And you had Debbie Taylor as your cover artist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have her too. She does my covers as well, and she's so talented. I really
very happy. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I was
right. Especially when someone's telling you that you have to use their cover artist, you're kind of like, oh, but I really have an idea of what I want. And then, the really great thing about Wild Rose is that they do, especially with the cover artists, they do really take your input and they translate it into these amazing things. So yeah, she's really talented. I really like her. So when it comes to writing, do you have a great support system in terms of your writing? Do you kind of do it on your own? Who's the biggest support in your life on your writing?
So I'm part of the Puget Sound Writers Guild. So that's a critique group in the area.
Are you part of it?
Yeah,
no.
They're a smaller one. They used to, I think it used to be associated many years ago with maybe Western Washington writers or something, which I don't even know if that exists anymore.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah. I seem to remember something about them early on. I haven't heard anything about them recently, but,
yeah, so I
but
think
how do you do with a critique group? Do you like working with critique groups, and are they helpful to you?
yeah, I mean I like it. It
Yeah.
seems pretty good. I mean the they have pretty much a set format they follow, and I guess supposedly it's based on Iowa the Iowa Writers Workshop or something. So they kind of have
Oh,
a formula of you. I think the only difference so basically you just show up, read whatever you're seeing or whatever, and then they critique it.
ah,
They have they it's not as stringent as it used to be. They even had you had to go through a little critiquing class and writing class thing to um, be part of it. So I, I think it does. I think it's useful.
yeah. Yeah. I've always been interested in those. I've never done one, but I've always been really interested in the benefit that people seem to get from them. And I mean, you get kind of that instant connection, that instant information back to you, whether or not this is, if you're on the right track or not. That would be very helpful, I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does help. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I had this started before I even, talked with you and stuff. And I said, if writing was your first passion, what would be your second? And I think I know the answer, but
Oh.
but what would be your, if writing is your first passion, what is your second passion?
Oh yeah, probably photography.
Yeah. It is fun, right? I mean, you can get that snapshot in time. That's the thing I love about photography is you see a memory and you happen to capture it, and then it's a snapshot in time, right? So it's cool, or a snapshot in nature, or whatever it is. It's to be able to capture that and keep it in your pocket. And I think it was Diana Gabaldon's Outlander book, where I don't know if you've read those, but where the woman goes back in time when photographs didn't exist, and she brings back pictures of this man's daughter, and he's just like, it's magic, he's just like, oh my gosh, what is this, and he's trying to figure it out. And that's the wonder of it, right? Just being able to capture that.
And it's crazy now with Facebook, and you put some picture on there, and then all of a sudden they pop it up, and you're like, oh yeah, that they look like that.
Yeah. Well, digital has taken it at a whole different level. I mean, I was reading what you said about, the chemicals in the darkroom and the whole, the mess and the smell and just everything. And now it's just so simple if you shoot in raw. Yeah. Okay. So when you are, because it sounds like you're a very visual kind of person, I don't want to speak for you, but it sounds like you are. When you are envisioning your characters, how do you create them? Do you storyboard? Do you just have the pictures in your mind? Do you write them out? How do you envision your characters, and how do you bring them to life?
As far as envisioning the characters, I don't storyboard them per se. I mean, I can't really draw or anything. So I just sort of, so you want them to stand out a little bit, usually physically. So I typically will try, I kind of think sometimes, I think it's some of Stephen King's stuff, usually he has something about even the minor characters that jump out at you, so you kind of remember them, whether they're really important or not. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I sort of remember that. So I don't know if I'm going for that necessarily, but so Allison Lee, she has, at least in this one, she has forest green. She dyes her hair forest green, so then that's an easy thing to kind of remember. And then so I don't really describe what they look like per se, more than like, forest green hair and kind of, so that's sort of the standout thing. And then, describe their clothing some.
Yeah.
And then like her friends, so they get described quite a bit. Like her friend Dahlia has pink hair, dyed hair, and then a nose ring. So that, and then she's very diminutive. So she's even smaller than Allison. So then that's another thing. Then their friend Haji, he's just described as kind of being gangly and clumsy.
Yeah.
That's I go that far, but then I just kind of, and then figuring out ways, like if they're going to run or something, well, oh, Haji has a, he has a clumsy gait or what, just playing off that thing without going into too much detail.
Yeah.
And the other characters are maybe, I think one of her rivals is this girl Leslie, who's extremely tall and athletic, which is in contrast to the rest of stuff like that.
Yeah. So you kind of let your reader kind of make up their own mind about and use their own creativity to kind of flesh out however you start it and stuff. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah, I think I probably spent more time, as far as like describing probably spent more in like the detailed description on like the dragons and the different things like that.
Yeah.
Opposed to the more human characters, I guess.
Yeah, cool. So when you are writing, do you what kind of a space is this your office? Do you typically write in your office? Do you like outdoors? What's your setup for writing?
Oh, just in here, because I dictate most of the writing, so it has to be relatively quiet, or it gives me more fits than it would otherwise. So in here in the morning, usually before the boys get up, because once they're up, they make their presence felt.
How old are your boys?
One is 10. I always want to say 9. The other one's 6.
Oh.
They're both extreme. Well, one's jealous of the other, and they're both roughnecks. So.
Oh. I love it. Oh, yeah, those are great ages. Okay, so I guess my last question would be, what would you most like to say to the readers out there?
Oh, well, I think the YA readers, especially I think especially the YA readers who are adolescents, the young adult group, I think they'll enjoy the book. I mean, because I think a lot of the stuff, it kind of has sort of the coming of age theme, and it comments on some of the at least tangentially, I think, on some of the social issues that group's sort of interested in and that they talk about and they kind of worry about, and the anxieties and stuff. And so I think that age group would the true young adult age group would enjoy it quite a bit.
How old is your main character?
She is 16.
16, okay.
So my older son did read the book and he liked it a lot. So I mean he's a little bit young for it, but he was able to read it, and he surprisingly said he liked it, because usually he doesn't like anything that is
Oh.
So, I mean, I think it was the Kirkus review. I got a really nice review from them, and sort of their tagline was oh gosh, now I have to remember what they said exactly. They said a inspirational and socially relevant fantasy.
Oh, so very nice.
That's why I think why the younger group would like it. I think they have stuff that they'd identify with. Oh,
I love it. What a great adventure. That's wonderful. Congratulations on the book.
Lots of adventure. Lots of, that's kind of stuff they say, like, write what you know, or write what you enjoy, or whatever. So it has adventure, because that's always what I typically enjoy in most cases.
Yeah. And then has kind of that other attachment of photography, which is something that you know something about. So it does give it lends that air of authority to it, right? And authenticity. So that's cool.
I mean, I hope so anyway. I hope it adds a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Well, I want to just say thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. And if you'd like to know more about Dan and his work, you can go to danssci-fi.com, and or you can go on to Jeny's Tattletales. He's done a wonderful guest blog on Jeny's Tattletales, and you can go on there, and we will have all of his links, and you can go and pick up this his fantastic book. And Dan, I just really wanted to say thank you so much for coming on today. We had a few technical difficulties that nobody else out there saw, but thank you very much for being patient with us as we got those all figured out. And it was such a pleasure.
Yes, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, well, take care. And you're in Tumwater. I'm in Washington. So, we're both having a glorious day here. So go enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.